Where's the wagon graphic with the horse's feet that don't move, Albin? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander accepting the MVP award. His teammates roaring their approval, and then he gets to work. Takes his time, never in a hurry. OKC up 6. Then it's SGA down low, spinning off glass. The lead is 8. The Wolves down 6. Yes, Anthony Edwards can bury threes, but you heard the broadcast. Richard and Doris talk about him getting downhill. Anthony Edwards so tough to stop. It's a 4-point game. Edwards again in the paint. Whole lot more paint work in this one as Edwards said he'd be more aggressive. Game 1, 18 points, had 16 in the half of this one. Late in the first half, it's a 3-point game. Shai makes it 5. And you heard Tim talk about how Minnesota had a chance to cut the lead to 1. Instead, Shai buries the 3. They had 2 more before the break. They lead by 8, and then the third quarter, they create the real separation. Float game, off glass +1, 25+ in 6 consecutive playoff games. Tied for the longest streak of his career. Thunder up 9 after the made free throw. Next OKC possession. The man we just visited with a moment ago, Alex Caruso. That's fantastic. Lead is 11. On the other end, there are those hands on defense. Casey Wallace throw it up to the thin man. Chet Holmgren. He had a big game as well, and the building's on fire. It always is. Shai, always ice cold. Everybody calm down. Keep your poise. Wallace gives to Holmgren. Frustration bubbling over on the Minnesota side as this one is slipping away. They trail by 22. They do stay in the fight, and after what we saw last night in the Garden, you never know. But Jalen Williams, who was sensational in this one as well, adds to his total. A few possessions later, it's down to 11. Another turnover off a deflection, and this actually is more costly than it would have been had Holmgren got the dunk, because Williams is able to get the bucket. He's fouled. He had 26. SGA ties his career playoff high with 38. It's a 2-0 series lead for the Thunder. They head back to Minneapolis. Game 3 on Saturday. Mark Dagnall after the win.
Special moment, to share with the fans. I mean, the fans that are here tonight, those are like iconic pictures in history of the league, and the fans get to enjoy that and acknowledge him. And it's an appropriate time to say that in these 2 games, as well as the rest of the games, but our fans were outstanding, put the wind at our back in these games, and we're going to continue to need them.
Coach,
Shai was good as always, but it sure seemed like Dub had an especially good game. How'd you look at him?
Yeah, I mean, he was really aggressive. He was efficient. I thought he chose the right spots to get to his spots and pull up, and chose the right spots to attack the basket, found good passes. I thought his floor game was very good, and he was very good again defensively. So a great night out of him, obviously.
Mark,
as you wrote that backwards. But anyway, 118 to 103. Shai was sensational again tonight. 38 points on 12 of 21 shooting. 1 or 2 from the three-point line. He's aggressive as always, 13 of 15 from the free throw line. But he got great help from Jalen Williams, 12 of 20, 26 big points. Chet Holmgren, 22 big points. Jalen Williams also chipped in. He was their leading rebounder. He had 10 rebounds. Count them up, 10 rebounds. Minnesota, Ant was very inefficient. He did have 32 points, Ocho and Roy, but took him 26 shots to get it. 1 of 9 from the three-point line. Remember the other night, I think he was 1 for 7 from the three-point line. And Julius just didn't have it tonight. This is by far his worst game in the postseason thus far. 2 of 11 from the floor, 0 of 3 from the three-point line, only 6 points. And that's not good enough to get it done. I thought the bench played extremely well, gave him 35 big points tonight, Ocho. But it was the starters that let him down. Mike Conley, 3 points. Rudy Gobert. Now all of a sudden he don't look like Wilt Chamberlain. He doesn't look like Shaquille O'Neal when he got competent centers out there against him. And Julius again said he only had 6 points. Roy, I'm gonna start with you. I watched this game, Ocho. I watched this game extremely, extremely close because I wanted to see something. I'm not sure Minnesota can get more than a game if they can get that. Because the game will be close, Ocho, and the next thing you know, they'll dart off and they'll be up by 15. They whittle it back down to 6, and then they take off again and they'll be up by 14. Watching this game, I'm just not. I'm convinced they can't win this series, but I'm not sure they can get more than a game, if that. Roy, watching this game, what is it that's been so impressive? And they've been impressive all year, so I guess we shouldn't really be surprised by the Thunder. 68 wins in the regular season, the MVP. They got a defensive player of the year, all defensive player in Lou Dort. What is it that OKC is doing to make it seem like Minnesota doesn't really belong on the court with them?
Well, to me, to be honest with you, it's like the defense. Around the three-point line, as soon as Anthony Edwards crosses the three-point line, there's bodies around him. So, like, the open space, the drives to be able to, like, get to the basket and have the explosion and dunk at the rim, those opportunities definitely are not there. And then the second thing for me is obviously just the guys like Caruso. I mean, you guys played sports, and as much as the superstars play well, they need like the ancillary players, the role players to play well. Wallace, Dort, Jalen Williams, he's an all-star. But on the defensive end, they were hunting out and playing the passing lanes, looking for tips and deflections. You know, it only says they have 9 steals here, but I feel like they should have at least a lot more on the stat sheet, because any pass over the top to get to Julius Randle, Dort would sniff it out, and then it would lead to a transition bucket. Or Jalen Williams, he'd be up in the defense, getting deflections, getting tips. I think he should have way more than, I think, 2 steals that he has on the night. But he was getting out, leading the offense through their defense.
He was, and I think the thing is that you're right. They're loading up. They're not letting Anthony Edwards slither through those creases, get to the basket, Ocho, where he can get the and ones. He got a couple tonight, but they're doing a great job of loading up on him, and they've got very active hands. You see, every time Rudy Gobert get off his rebound, they slap it out, they get it going the other way. And when you turn the ball over against a team that have great wing players, that means they're in transition before you know it, because they're taking the ball away at the top of the key, the three-point line. So they don't got very far to go. It's not one outlet laying up at the other end. Yeah. Ocho, you picked Minnesota.
Yeah, man.
What's been the most disappointing thing? Because they've been very disappointing. These games really haven't been close. What's been the most disappointing thing when you're watching Minnesota that you're like, damn, this ain't the team that beat the Lakers 4-1. This is not the team that beat the Warriors and made it and did it convincingly. What is it that's been most disappointing watching the T-Wolves play?
Hey, honestly, just to tell you the truth, inconsistency. One game, Julius Randle, he goes off, he goes crazy. Then we have another game where Anthony Edwards, he's been efficient, he's been inefficient in both games. He's putting up points, but he's taking a lot of shots to get those points. Yep. He's not very efficient from the field, and these past 2 games. His help, he's not getting much help collectively from the starters as well. The benches is doing okay, but the starters need to contribute a little bit more often, as opposed to offset what Chet and Jalen Williams and Shai are doing out there. Outside of that, I mean, Anthony Edwards is being aggressive as